everyone, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another trailer chapter. It's been a while, but finally I am getting down to the long-awaited DIY video that I've been teasing for a really long time. We've made some changes in the RV since we moved in, and I wanted to share...
A lot, actually.
Quite a few. And I wanted to share the most significant ones, but it took a while to get around to getting this video put together because we weren't able to knock out everything like over a weekend, because with school and work we kind of had to chip away at it as we could. But finally we are here. We're going to sit down and take you guys through everything, so sit back and I really hope that you guys enjoy it. I have Stuart with me because even though I could sit and talk about all this stuff, you did a lot of the labor, which was either a good thing or a bad thing depending on how your mood was that day. But
notice the parts that don't have a whole lot going on. My mood probably wasn't.
Yeah, there are some video clips where I didn't take as many because sometimes DIY projects sound like a great idea, but they can be very, very frustrating.
I mean, they're not hard. It's just I get frustrated easily, I feel.
Yeah, but we managed to get it all done. It was a work in progress, and we had to work with each other, but it was all good. We got it done. I want to just kind of have you go along and fill in the blanks for me, because I can explain what we did, but you can get into the minutia a little bit more in case you're watching this and you're wanting to do something similar. I think the first thing that we'll start with, because I know that this was the biggest thing for me when we first moved in here, I was like,
funny.
Got to do something about this, was our pantry.
Think of the pantry about 2 feet deep, so the length of your arm, especially her arm probably, and think of it at 6 foot up in the air. It's fine for me. For her, she's dragging something over. How many times? Maybe a dozen times a day?
Half a dozen times a day, trying to climb up to reach something in the very back of the top shelf.
Think of finding that particular can of beans that you want. Not the other kind of beans, but those beans. 2 feet back, in the dark, picking one up, bringing it forward, standing on something. It
was such a pain, and I spent a lot of time searching, researching, figuring out what exactly I wanted to do. And I went on Amazon and found some sliding pantry baskets, and these are very common. I'm sure you've seen them before, but the ones that I found, I was able to order custom, which was important because our pantries and all of the cabinetry in the RV are not like standard size. They're kind of smaller. So I was able to order these beautiful stainless steel baskets on these gliding rollers. We figured out a way to get those installed, and I'll let you go into that.
Typically, they'd be really easy. You just put a screw through and send it home. But the bottom of the cabinets, each shelf, isn't just a sheet of plywood or something like that that you would typically see in a home. So it's really just actually a really thin sheet of Luan or like paneling with maybe a couple boards that randomly go through it underneath it, and they sit on that and it's tacked down.
It's kind of weak.
Yeah, it's structurally not great. It's an RV. So we were able to put the screws through it, send it home, like I said, on a couple of them, and then in spots we also weren't able to do that. So that part of it was a small challenge. We just had to use, I think we used Gorilla Glue.
We used Gorilla Glue.
Gorilla Glue on a couple pieces of spacer board. You'll see that there's just a little lip on the outside of these cabinets. So we had to raise it up just a little bit.
So the basket
the basket would come out. So we ended up screwing down and gluing down those and getting just the exact right spot. It's got to be right in the middle for me. But that left us with a little bit of room in the back, but it also left us with room on each side. So we have a couple small random things like half a bag of chips on one side.
Or like bigger jars, like I have like apple cider vinegar or syrup or whatever.
Yeah, so they're on the sides. It's all still brought to the front, but the space is utilized so much better now.
And it stays organized. It's not like we're driving down the road and things are just going from one side to the other and flying around. Now everything stays contained. And I even went a step further and organized the sliding baskets by getting like small, like organizational Tupperware type.
Oh, all the seasonings.
Yeah, I had all the seasonings sitting in those, and I really figured out a way to make everything fit and put everything in a place where I can get to it. It has improved my experience dealing with the kitchen and our pantry just 100-fold.
So the next one was probably, well, you can talk about the bathroom. She did this pretty much all on her own. So
yeah, everything else that we did, you were like the main.
I think I was at work when you did that, the shelves in the bathroom.
Well, I got started on it. So our bathroom is small. It's an RV bathroom. They're all small. And all that it has is a small vanity with some shelving and then the medicine cabinet, which is pretty minimal too. But I didn't want to have everything crammed in places where it was something that I needed every day and I was going to have to go search for it. And so there was wall space between one wall and the medicine cabinet, and you'll see it in the video clips. I decided that I wanted to put in some really small shelves. They didn't have to be anything crazy.
They're the same depth as the medicine cabinet, which I appreciated. I think you cut them down a little bit so they'd be the right depth.
I was able to find wood that was the right depth, width or whatever.
Yeah.
So I found some pine that was really nice. I think I went to Lowe's and I cut it down and I stained it, and I got these really small shelf brackets. And by the way, I'll link everything that we used in the description of this video, so if you want to do something similar or you just wanted to go check it out, you can. The shelves and these brackets and everything else.
You got the brackets online, right?
On Amazon.
Because it was such a small particular size.
The shelf is only 3.5 inches deep, so it's a very small shelf. But I was able to get that installed, and you would have been proud of me because I used the level
we looked over the clip, and yeah, she used a level
to make sure the shelves were perfectly level, and I got everything installed, and he didn't have to help me too much, which I think was a good thing, because I think sometimes you do a bunch of projects, you can kind of you can get worn out. So sure. That was my contribution to our life and our DIY stuff in here, was putting in those shelves, and I think it's been fantastic.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, there's enough space for, I think, like your hairspray, for
the air freshener.
The air freshener, those are on that
little
bigger
jars,
shelf.
like Q-tips and bobby pins and that kind of thing, and it got everything up off the vanity countertop, which was what I wanted. The space was so cluttered. I hated it so much. Doing that really, I think it dressed up the space. It made it more user friendly. Now we can have the things that we use every single day in an easy to access place. I absolutely love it, and I think the shelves look really, really good. I mean, I have zero carpentry experience whatsoever, but I figured out how to use your circular saw, and I figured out which stain I wanted, and I stained everything like I did, all of it, and I'm really proud of it, and I think it turned out.
Did you use a carpentry square?
I did. I used your carpentry square. Yeah, I did it all. Let's talk about the closet situation, because that I think was the next biggest thing after the pantries.
The closets in the front bedroom, in our bedroom, we had these bins. I think they were like 12 by 12 or 14 by 14, and we had two of them.
Collapsible, folding.
Yeah, we had two of them. So it was one and then another behind it. Other than that, there was maybe about 1.5 or 2 of space for hanging clothes.
The closets are very narrow. They're about 1 foot wide and maybe 3 feet deep.
At the bottom. And then at the top, it curls up.
Because the front of our RV is rounded. So it's a difficult space to work with. And the cloth bins that I got, the storage bins, that was the only solution that I could think of in the limited amount of time that we had.
All our clothes was either rolled up or
and it all fit.
That was it, actually. All our clothes were rolled up.
It all fit, but it was really, really hard to get to anything. And we had looked and researched how to put shelves in there. And again, we ran into the same problem that we had with the pantry, which is that the walls are thin, flimsy. You can't send screws and hanging stuff through them, because it'll just fall apart. Finding a solution that was going to keep us from pulling our hair out was really important, because it was getting to the point where we couldn't find any of our clothes without having to pull everything out. It was like a daily struggle.
So we were walking through, and we finally decided, we were walking through Lowe's, and we found just those basic wire shelves that you see in lots of people's garages. They have small, medium, large, and then like the ridiculously huge ones. But we ended up getting a pretty small size, and then instead of having them like you would have them flat against a wall, imagine turning them 90 degrees and just poking them in a little space. But then we also ran into that the front of our RV is curved. We had to take some of the height off of the shelf for it to fit. And so we basically just took off some, compressed it all, and we managed to get it all in there. And it was a little bit tricky because it's really wedged. Honestly. We had to put everything into the closet and then assemble it. We couldn't pre-assemble it and put it in because of the way the closets are built, and the fact that the opening is narrower than the closet is wide. So that was tricky, but
The good news is we managed to get it done.
They ain't going anywhere.
They're not going anywhere. And now when you open up the closet, there are metal shelves and all of your clothing is folded up and organized, and you can find exactly what you need. It's been awesome. Doing laundry and like putting away laundry isn't a headache and a nightmare for me anymore because everything is organized and I feel like I can function. But after we did that, we lost the bar where we could hang things. So we actually ended up doing something in the bunkhouse that we'd talked about doing for a long time. And I think it's worked really well.
Yeah, so the bunkhouse, how it had bunks on the left and the right side, they were on the very, very back wall of the trailer. They ended up having shelves there for people that are sleeping in the bunks. It's like their little space.
But we don't have those. Each bunk had like 2 shelves.
Yeah, so we don't have the bunks anymore, obviously, and we have a whole bunch of stuff. Like it's like a utility room kind of thing in there.
Laundry room, the oven's in there, my desk is in there. It's a multi-purpose room.
Yeah, we were able to condense all of the stuff that was in there. Realistically, there were things we got rid of too that we haven't used that we thought we might need. We moved it all to one side, and we took out those shelves. We took out
a shelf.
Yeah, we basically took out half of the shelves on the right side of the back wall, installed a bar, so that ended up being a closet space. That really wasn't too bad. I think that day I was in a bad mood, so there's limited footage, sorry. But I essentially just took a saw that was made for cutting wood and bimetal and just cut right through those things, and then we tried to smooth it down, sand it out.
Mm-hmm. Neither of us have a lot of clothing. We got rid of a lot before we moved into here because obviously having a bunch of stuff isn't very conducive. So it fits both of our clothing that we want to have hung up, and I think the closet is probably 3 feet wide.
It's about as wide as, say, a shirt that's hung up. I mean, if it's a really bulky jacket,
it's about as deep as
it really uses that space as a closet now too. Instead of just having a whole bunch of stuff put in there and spread out, we condensed a lot of it to the left side, and now we have a place to hang things.
We managed to fix our bedroom closet situation and create a much more user-friendly space to keep our clothes, which was awesome. We fixed the problem of trying to figure out where to hang stuff up that we don't want to get wrinkled. We fixed the pantry frustration by installing those sliding doors. Every single morning, evening, when I go in there to get something, it's just so nice to be able to pull that drawer out and get to what I need. I can't even begin to tell you how happy it makes me. The bathroom is a lot more organized. All of these things are little things, but they improve your quality of life so much. The last thing that Stuart did, and this was something that I wanted so bad, and we went back and forth on it for a really long time, but I wanted a bookshelf so bad because even though I try to keep the number of physical books I have to a minimum because we don't have a ton of space, there are a decent number. I would say I have maybe 20 books, classic literature, books that I've had for a long time that are really important to me that I'm not going to get rid of, and they were just sitting on a bottom shelf in our utility room just collecting dust, and I wanted to get them out, and so we went and found, what size board was that?
I think that's a 1x8, and we just matched it to be as wide, just about as wide as that center area. It's in the bedroom side of where our TV is, if you've ever seen, and then we have 3 of those L brackets. They're like the really cheap $98 or 98 cent. They're like the really cheap 98 cent L brackets. Just put those through, make sure they're on a stud.
I stained the wood so it would look nice.
She's getting to be a pro at that.
So now we have organizational stuff everywhere. I have my books set out in the bedroom.
There's really not stuff that sits out all the time now, and I think that makes you happy.
Yeah, because if things are super cluttered, I don't feel like I can function. I don't feel like I can find things when I need them. It drives me absolutely crazy. And so all of these little fixes that we've made have really just improved everything in here, and having the bookshelf was like the icing on the cake. Everything that we've done has made this place feel like more of a home, and I really, really like that.
For people that say that there's not enough room in an RV, you're not using it well enough. There's lots of little storage things you can do. There's no real hack. It's just getting out there and figuring out what you need, what you want, and then where to put it. honestly.
And maybe also acknowledging the fact that you don't need as much of the stuff as you think you do to be comfortable. That's everything that we've done up to this point. Originally, when I was planning this video, I wanted to include getting new cabinet doors made and having that as part of this video too, but that is going to be such an undertaking. I think it's going to be its own separate video. But in essence, the shelves, including our new closet space that we built in the back room, we want to get all of that enclosed with cabinet doors, and the cabinet doors in the rest of the RV are not doing real well, and they need to be replaced too.
For an RV that's looking at about 7 years old, opening them 10, 20, 30 times a day, say for where our trash is under the sink, the corners started pulling apart. They're just tacked together, really cheap particle wood. And we painted and it looks nice, but it's coming apart.
Stay tuned for that. That's going to be coming at some point. There's always something. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it and it gave you a inside perspective into what our life has been like here. That's what I'm trying to do with these videos, is just kind of share a little bit of our experience, show how doable it is and how much fun it can be. So if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing so that you'll be here whenever future trailer chapters come along. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed, and let us know in the comments what you thought, if the full-time RV life is something that you're considering, if you've ever spent any time in an RV. Thank you, and hopefully we'll see you guys next time for the next video, whenever and wherever that may be.